Nvidia is unhappy that board partners may work with Intel on the Battlemate series. Very few Nvidia board partners are interested in promoting GeForce RTX 4060 Ti with 16 gigs of memory. The upcoming new ASUS RTX 4060 Ti with 16 gigs is more expensive compared to the cheapest RTX 4070. And lastly, ASUS released their GeForce RTX 3060 Ti Megalodon series, which is coming with the 12V HPWR connector. This is Tech Track. So firstly, we have a rumor that claims that the Nvidia does not want to see more Intel GPUs. So Video Cards reported this, and if you look closely here, this is the source we're getting. And well, this is the translation that we got, because when I looked into the link, actual link, it wasn't, it was in Russian, I believe. So that's the translation we're looking at. And if you look closely here, that Intel is already looking for partners to manufacture their next generation video cards naturally in China, but Nvidia has become aware of that, and now they're threatening its partners to not do so, because otherwise they would no longer work with them. And that is very much a threat. You can easily tell. Nvidia is telling the board partners not to work with the Intel on Battlemates, because if they do, they will not, Nvidia will not work with the AIBs basically. So that is not a good practice from Nvidia, definitely not, because they're literally threatening to not work or even send them the chips. And that's really alarming. Like, why would such thing happen? I can understand why, in terms of business point of view. 4000 series is literally a failure in terms of the mid-end GPUs here. Like the 4060 Ti is a failure. 4080 priced literally like terribly wrong. So we can understand why they're trying to do this. That Intel Battlemates might perform better in some cases. We don't know. We don't know how that architecture will work eventually, but this is not a good practice at all from Nvidia here. And I'm not surprised they're making that practice, because look at now, this is a very interesting report from Andres Schilling here, and he's saying that talk to some AIB partners, it looked like very few are interested in promoting the GeForce RTX 4060 Ti 16 gigs in a big way. So it's very much clear they're not interested in the 4060 Ti 16 gigs, because it generally is not selling at all. So Nvidia is now also threatening to not to work with the other AIBs for Intel collaboration, and also these AIB partners are also not interested in promoting the RTX 4060 Ti 16 gigs of model, because we already seen the benchmarks. It's a terrible card, and in some instances it is losing to RTX 3060 Ti, which is a baffling performance. Literally, like, what is that card, honestly? But the practice from Nvidia here is not also looking good, because like threatening AIBs not to work with them, like, is literally telling the people, the consumers, that you get only the Nvidia cards however we price it, and this is not a good practice at all. And now the AIBs are also fighting back here, basically, or I wouldn't say fighting back, it's just they're also denying to promote RTX 4060 Ti 16 gigs of model, and rightfully so. So we don't know what's gonna happen, honestly. I'm hoping that Battlemates will come out to be a good one, so that people stop buying Nvidia stuff if they follow this practice, which is terrible, really. And next up, we also have more terrible news, because in China, the ROG RTX 4060 Ti 16 gigs Raptor graphics are got listed here, and as you can tell, well then, it is listed for 4,699 yuan, which is extremely expensive. And not to mention that the Raptor, the RTX 4060 Ti 8 gigs Raptor, the flagship one, which was also 3,999, basically 4,000 yuan, which was also 800 yuan higher than the Nvidia's retail price, right? And now they're pricing it 4,699, almost 600 more dollars. So basically, or not dollars, yuan. So basically 1,400 yuan premium, or I should say 1,500, because it's 699. So it's 1,500 yuan higher for this model right here, the ROG RTX Strix GeForce RTX 4060 Ti. That's the 16 gigs model, of course, but you have to pay this much, and literally this is the actual price of some of the more basically the MSRP models of the RTX 4070. This is crazy. Already this card, RTX 4060 Ti, has a lower 128-bit bus, which already cripples it, because in certain games it loses to RTX 3060 Ti, and now you are also paying the price of an RTX 4070. It doesn't make any sense. I feel like ASUS's marketing team is not really looking the reality here, literally. But we do have another news from ASUS here, and basically ASUS have launched another card. This is an RTX 3060 Ti. Well, it's a, you can't really see it, but it is an RTX 3060 Ti right here, as you can tell. It's an 8 gigs of model, obviously, but it comes with an interesting power connector, which is none other than that 12V HPWR connector. But we haven't seen any 30 series of cards with this connector here, so ASUS has introduced this connector to the older series of cards, basically the RTX 3060 Ti firstly here, and this is the RTX 3060 Ti Megalodon we're looking at, and there it is. It's the connector is in the right spot. Well, it's not surprising, but maybe they could have done the, that hidden cable connection, that type of thing with their newer cards. But yeah, you know what, they didn't do it. Who cares? So yeah, this is the RTX 3060 Ti. Nothing really interesting, but yeah, it's coming with the 12V HPWR connector. That's it. So what do you think about Nvidia's practice, literally threatening to the AIBs that they shouldn't partner with Intel? Also, what do you think about the AIBs not supporting Nvidia here in terms of promoting the RTX 4060 Ti 16 gigs? Well, it's gonna be a bit chaotic here, because I don't think that it is literally a good practice. Well, if AIB wishes to not promote it, it's understandable, because RTX 4060 Ti won't get sold. But then again, Nvidia is right here? I don't think so. I mean, it's gonna hurt their business, but it is also not right to threaten. What do you think?